Okay, so welcome to the lab. So this packet tracer lab is mainly focusing on give you some sort of introduction to Cisco packet tracer and do some small configurations as well. So in here, the main goal is to create some sort of a small network and enable DHCP services inside that, within that network. So to do this, we need to have few devices, actually 5 computers, a 1 switch and a 1 server. So in this case, I'm going to get the switch from the packet tracer. Under the switch tab, you can see 2960 switch in here. You have to click here. First, you have to click here, then you have to click here. Okay. So I'm going to click 2960 and I'm going to drag it and drop it in here. Then I'm going to rename the switch as FCT. All right. So after that, I want to take 5 computers. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going under the end devices in here. You can see, and you have to select generic computer, generic PC. Also, you can see the server is also in here as well. So when we are getting the server, drag it and drop it to here as well. Okay, so let's move to the computer selection. So I'm going to select generic computer. Before selecting the computer, I'm going to click CTRL. Then I'm going to click computer. Okay, now I can just like this, I can get the computers. Otherwise, I have to drag and drop all the things like this. This will consume more time. All right. After that, I'm going to select server as well. Okay. After that, I'm going to connections and I'm going to select copper straight through cable. When I'm selecting it, I'm again going to click CTRL. Okay. Then I'm going to select fast Ethernet. Fast Ethernet 0/1. Likewise, I'm going to connect all the computers to the switches. Serve as well. Okay, serve as well. All right. Now we have some sort of a small network. This is a star topology. If you, in case of you are wondering what's a topology, so this is actually star topology. All right. So first, before doing anything, let's see whether we can send a ping message or a packet from one device to another. Before doing that, I'm going to rename all the computers: PC5, PC4, PC3, PC. You have double click in the name, double click in the name, or single click. All right. Then I'm going to select a packet from this side, click in here, and I'm going to send that packet to PC4. Now you can see PC4 has no functional ports because we have not configured the things. Okay, now let's go to, let's click this PC1, then go to config, not config, go to desktop and click IP configuration in here. You'll see two bullet points. You can configure the IP statically, or you can configure it dynamically, which means DHCP, using the DHCP server. So actually, I have added the server in here. I'm going to rename the server name as well, DHCP. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select DHCP in here. So let's see what will happen. So it's actually requesting an IP. Okay, now we get a message. DHCP failed. APIPA, API PA is being used. So what is this APIPA? What kind of a thing is this? Okay, so APIPA actually stands for Automatic Private IP Addressing. So this is a feature in operating systems such as Windows that enables computers to automatically self-configure an IP address and subnet mask when their DHCP server isn't reachable or isn't available. So which means if you can't actually find a DHCP server in your network, if you tell your computer to get the IP address from the DHCP server, so it will wonder, okay, now we don't have a DHCP server. I can't find the DHCP server. In that case, what will happen is this automatic private IP addressing, APIPA, will be triggered and it will give an IP address for the computer. So the IP address range for APIPA is 169.254.0.12, 169.254.255.254. So just make sure the IP address we received for this computer actually is within this range. You can see if you check the IP address by looking at it, you can make sure that it is actually within the range. So if I do this for 2 computers, okay, let's do that for PC1 and PC2 or PC4 in this case. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for PC4. I'm going to go to desktop, IP configuration, and I'm going to enable DHCP as well. So you can see it will just like before, it get a DHCP fail message, and it's also going to use APIPA. So it's going to use a different IP address. Now let's see whether we can ping from one that device to PC4. So PC1 to PC4. Now it is successful. You can see the successful message in the bottom here, because now the both computers have an IP address, but it is not the IP address received by the DHCP server. It's actually within the APIPA range. So these two actually can communicate with each other because these two got an IP address from APIPA. Okay, but that's not the goal we are looking for. We need to configure the DHCP server, and we need to configure the DHCP server in a way it gives the IP address range we want our computers to have. Okay, so now let's configure the DHCP server. Also, one more thing, I have added the lecture slide for DHCP servers as well. So if you want to know what's a DHCP server, go through the lecture slide, you'll see. All right. So now let's go into, I'm going to configure the DHCP server. So you can see in the lab manual, we will end up with this message if the DHCP server is not configured. Okay, that's fine. So as a question, I've given what is explain what is APIPA. So I'll tell you what is APIPA is. So you can just pause the video in here and read whatever the things in here and get some sort of idea. Okay. All right. So let's move to the other things. Now let's go to the server. Click on server. In server, go to the services. You can see you can enable different kind of services. So by default, the HTTP service enabled. If you want to disable it, go ahead. You can disable it. No worries. But I'm going to keep it enabled because I don't want to disable it. If you want to disable it, that's fine. Disable it. And I'm going to DHCP because this is the service we are looking for, right? So this is the service we are looking for. Click on DHCP. Now you have different kind of configurations to do. Make sure now by default, the DHCP service is turned off. Okay, but we want to make it turned on. We'll do it later. Okay. All right. Now we have to do the necessary configurations. So in this case, what I'm saying is the default gateway should be 192.168.0.1. So 192.168.0.1. And the DNS server, I'm giving a DNS server as I want. If you don't have a DNS server, you can keep it as it is. 10.0.0.1. Okay. So the starting IP address will be 192.168.0.2. So the DHCP server will start assigning IP addresses from 192.168.0.2 to whatever the amount we are telling. In this case, 192.168.0.255. So 255.255.255.0. All right. Then I'm going to save the configurations. You have to do this for sure. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Okay. So I'm going to save the configurations. Now it's saved. You can see we can use only the maximum number of users is 254 because we are starting from 2. If I change this to starting from 5, the maximum number of users will again decrease. Okay. I'm going to save it again. You can see now it's 251 because now we are starting IP address from not 0.1, we are starting from 0.5 because within one subnet we can have like 2 to the power of 8 users, like 255. Actual users are actually 254 because we have to remove one IP address for network and one IP address for broadcast. I'll teach you all these things when we are doing subnetting. For now, just make sure what is actually happening when we mention the starting IP address. So in this case, if I mention the starting IP address as 10, now the maximum number of users will decrease as well. It's now 246. Okay. All right. I'll keep it as it is. So you can see the devices will get the IP addresses starting from 192.168.0.10. All right. So let's move to the other configuration. So if you're following this alongside with me, make sure you have done all the configurations like this, or like in the lab sheet, and make sure you have click save button. Okay. All right. So let's move to the other configurations. Then we have to go to the desktop. Then in here, we have to select IP configurations because this is a server. So in a server, we'll never give a dynamic IP address. We have to give static IP address. Okay. So because of that, we have to give an IP address for our server as well. So go to the server in here, go to static, and then click then assign IP address 192.168.0.1. Then subnet mask should be 255.255.255.0 because this is a class C IP address, and that's all. You don't have to give a default gateway for a server like this. Okay. Okay. So now we are done with all the configurations. But if we try to give the IP address using DHCP, it will still say DHCP is failed. There's a reason for that. Okay, you can see we configured all the configurations, but it's still saying DHCP failed. The reason is we configured the server, but we didn't turn it on. So we have to go to services again, and we have to go under DHCP. Then in here, you have to turn it on. Now it's turned on. Now it should work. Now remember the range we are expecting. We are expecting from 192.168.0.0. So I'm going to update it again, 0.10, and I'm going to save it. Now the range is 192.168.0.10 to 192.168.0.255. Actually, it's 254. So let's go to PC1 here. Now I'm getting a IP address from this range, 192.168.0.11. All right. So let's move to the other computers as well. Let's see whether they'll work. I'm going to enable DHCP in here. Yes, it's getting 12. Good. In here, let's go again. 13, good. In here, I'm going to change it again. Static dynamic. Yes, it's getting an IP in the range. Again, let's go to another device. Make it DHCP enable. Yes, great. Now I'm going to change the DHCP range again, just for fun. Okay, so I'm going to DHCP, and I'm going to change the starting IP address to 40. All right, so I'm going to save the configurations again. Let's see what will happen. I'm going to save, select save. Then I'm going to here. Then I'll go to static and again DHCP. Now it's starting from 40. You can see that, right? Now the DHCP server actually giving the IP addresses starting from 40 because I've mentioned that in the configurations. So all the PCs will get a DHCP address like this. So it's really easy to understand. So DHCP service, someone actually giving IP addresses to the computers in the network, and it will obey the rules we are telling as well. You see, so when I'm configuring the DHCP server, I have mentioned all the DNS server details and other things. So it will automatically get the DNS server details from the DHCP server as well. You can see that as well. Also, default gateway I've mentioned in here, it will get to all the computers as well.